gamer friends, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Josiah,
and we are ready to roll.
We have a couple of special guests on our video today, and we will be talking about XP leveling versus milestone leveling in D&D. So this is going to be one of our D&D videos.
Yeah, our RPG Saturday is kind of what we call it. We've done a few of these, and he really enjoys D&D, and we wanted to kind of, I don't know, put that together with our board gaming hobby, since they do go together so well, and we hope you enjoy this video.
Yep. So let's start by first having you guys sort of introduce yourselves and talk about what DMing you've done and how long you've been doing it and things like that. So do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. I haven't been DMing for very long. This is actually my first time DMing ever. Before that, I was a pure player. Played a lot since about 2019. I've been playing several TTRPGs. In total, I've played Cyberpunk, D&D, a little bit of Call of Cthulhu. I played a couple sessions of that. That was a lot of fun. A way different system.
Yeah, big time.
Very different vibes, too. But DMing, something that's very new, been very daunting to me, but it's been very helpful to have Josiah and Rob here to help me out with it, because they were my DMs first. Yeah. Other than my cousin, Rob was my first DM, and then Josiah here as a DM my Strahd character, which has been my longest running campaign that I've been involved with. Yeah. Been able to play 2 characters, 3 characters now. But DMing is a lot different because you play that many characters every session.
And Alan is DMing our current game that we play, which we've been playing for 5 or 6 months or so.
5 or 6 months.
Yeah, something like that.
We've gone up the road.
It's gone. We haven't gone very far. But I mean, I love that. I love getting into the nitty gritty of it.
Slow burn with a lot of side quests and side tangents, and that's something that Milestone and XP treat differently, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, Rob, you want to do here?
I'm Rob. Gosh, I've been playing since maybe 1994 when I was in the Army, and I got introduced to it by some guys I was in the military with, who we were on doing training up in extreme cold weather training up in Canada, and had downtime. And actually, it wasn't even D&D that I first got introduced to. It was a game called Shadowrun. And so that's really kind of how I first got introduced to that type of gaming. And then did some D&D, played Pathfinder.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you mentioned you had played Pathfinder too.
Yeah, and I've played Rogue Trader, which is more of a Warhammer 40K kind of thing. So I played a few different systems, but I don't know. D&D's probably always been one of my favorites. Yeah. I really haven't DM'd all that many times, maybe 4 altogether, 5, I think.
5 sessions.
5 different
games.
And then, of course, the last one that we were doing where got cut short because of everybody's schedules.
Sure.
Life got in the way.
And I'm actually right now working on a bigger one.
Yes.
That hopefully we can kick off sometime next year.
Yeah, Rob's on deck, so he's going to be the next DM.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And again, some of these tools that we have now with like ChatGPT and some other things that have really been fun to play with.
Yeah, it really changes the game.
Yeah, and that's all. Have you done a video on that yet?
No, haven't yet.
That's definitely worth a discussion.
Yeah,
how AI can be used.
We'll definitely do a video on that.
As a tool and also as a crutch a lot of times.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
I haven't been that adventurous with the characters I play. I've mostly played rogue type characters, and then I played a battle priest one time, battle cleric one time, when it comes to like the D&D or Pathfinder thing. So I've just kind of stayed in certain areas.
Yeah, cool.
I've played a tree man druid.
Yeah.
It was a wacky guy.
I didn't realize I was the most tenured DM at the table. That's
I think
kind of strange to me. I've only DM'd one game, but it was a 3-year campaign. So
I was there for 2 of them, like 2 years of that, I think.
Yeah. So this video is about XP leveling versus milestone leveling. There are lots of different reasons why you would use either. We just want to break it down and talk about it. So the first one that we wanted to talk about is to define it. What is XP leveling? What is milestone leveling? So let's start with XP. So in the DMG, it has a chart. Is it the DMG or is it? No, it's the player's player's book.
For the character advancements in the player's handbook, page 41.
Yeah, 41.
The 2024 player's handbook.
Yep. And then on page 8 is the experience points challenge rating table.
And then DMG has a XP budget.
Yeah. And then, so basically what XP leveling is every encounter, combat, skill check, I mean, really you could do anything that you wanted to. That basically it's a value system for what you just went through. It's experience points based on what you just did, whether it's exploration, combat, or what's the other pillar?
Role play.
Role play.
Well, and traditionally, it's really been focused around combat,
killing stuff.
Right, right. That's the main chunk of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the most definitive numbers.
Yes.
This CR thing has this much XP.
That's right.
This mini of this CR thing gives you this extra amount.
Yeah.
Which they've actually changed. They don't have a multiplier anymore. It's just baked into the new CR.
Right, right.
New XP. So it's a little bit less complicated now.
Yeah.
To do XP leveling than it has been previously if you're using the 2024.
Right. And that's one thing I think the 2024 version has done a really good job of, is like simplifying things a lot. Mm-hmm. There are some things that I don't like about it, but for the most part I've really enjoyed what 2024 has done.
Well, and certainly sticking with combat experience, it makes it easier for a DM.
Yeah.
Because they can just kind of.
It's very simple.
It is.
It's got the numbers.
It's just a calculation.
You don't have to add any of your own numbers,
right.
your own multipliers or amendments to these things or anything like that. And it's actually very lenient on how it awards that XP per the thing. It's not necessarily you have to kill it. You can capture it. You can avoid it sneakily.
Yeah, yeah.
And for a new DM, that might be really helpful.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not doing like a set module and you're wanting to do more of an open world type thing.
Right.
Or if you don't have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, so for my campaign that I DM'd was Curse of Strahd, I did milestone leveling. You are doing XP leveling in our current campaign.
Wildmount campaign. I'm using the Explorer's Guide to the Wildmount campaign setting book, and
more is just like a framework.
Yeah, I use the map.
Yeah, yeah.
Strahd was the first campaign that I was ever in that was milestone.
Right.
So
yeah,
for me that was a new experience.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna do XP leveling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's XP leveling, and then milestone leveling is essentially just the DM picks certain sort of highlights in the campaign where he says, okay, once you've crossed this threshold or you've done this thing, you level up. And it's, I think, pretty strictly, it's just a DM's decision. At least that's how I handled it in Curse of Strahd. I was like, okay, once they go to the
the
Amber Temple, and go through it, they level up, something like that. So, and there were several of those points, and actually leveled you guys up past what the module said
well,
it was
and
for.
To show you how little experience that I had with it, I thought that was probably part of the module, and you were just
so
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So because the DMG actually offers a little bit of variance to that.
It does.
It's not necessarily just you finished this quest point or you finished this, you killed the big bad guy of this portion of the story. It offers you to be able to chunk it down. So like it says accomplishing one in a series of goals necessary to completing the adventure.
Yeah.
That's like a traditional milestone for the entire plot story.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And I think it also is helpful to have that entire framework laid out for a campaign if you want to do milestone.
Right.
Because if you're planning on doing an open world campaign or a less structured one,
yeah,
you're really catching yourself up, or you're really having to speed some stuff up that might be helpful to slow down, like the side quests.
Right. Yeah.
Like that, where players might feel discouraged and don't want to go out and adventure on these side tangents, or go out to save this damsel in distress, or go out to save this trade caravan, or to fight this smuggling ring or gambling den or whatever it is in town.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, that's not the main story. That's not the plot. I'm not going to get an XP for that. In the back of their heads, of course, if they're motivated by their characters and the characters are motivated by their own personalities.
Be a good player.
Big yes.
Well, I think that's the thing is like, it's as a player, you don't want to just be stuck inside this module where it feels like it's step, step, step. You want to do more.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me as a player, I want to explore the world.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think Milestone also provides an opportunity to really get used to your level.
Yeah.
Because you can be at level 4 for much longer in a Milestone campaign
That's
than you
right.
would in XP.
That's right.
We just leveled up to level 5 total.
Yep.
And that happened a lot faster than I was expecting it to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe by the time they get to that point, they'll be around level 5.
They are pretty good.
I'm throwing in
Yeah.
I'm throwing these encounters in because I'm like, I'm wanting engaging encounters, and at this point in the story, it's going to be a pretty hard encounter. These are tough enemies. These aren't just run-of-the-mill goblins on the side of the road attacking you. It's, the lieutenants or whatever, so it's going to be a tougher encounter, and suddenly they're level 5.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
having to back up on that, and maybe the characters hadn't had their full time to understand their level 4 features yet before they get to the level 5 features.
Yeah.
Because it was only like 3 games.
Yeah, 3 sessions.
3 sessions from level 4 to 5.
Yeah.
That's not enough time to really understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's one thing that I liked about running a Milestone campaign is that I, as the DM, got to control when the level up happened, and I got to let you guys kind of immerse yourselves in that level, and then I could sort of pick the points where I was like, okay, I think they've been in here long enough. They've gotten really comfortable with their spells and their abilities and their things like that. And then I was like, okay, once they get here, I'll level them up.
Yeah, but that being said, I think that happens organically within an XP game because now your next level is 14. You got to be at 14,000.
Oh yeah.
It's like right.
It spreads out.
Yeah,
it does spread out.
I
Yeah,
you guys should be level 5 for a very long time.
I do think the advantage of which I agree with you as far as being the DM and doing a milestone. It allows you can even go through before you ever start the campaign. Okay, this is where I'm gonna give them this level and this, and it allows you to be prepared for it.
That's right. And I was also going to say, like, there's a difference if you're running a milestone campaign. If you're like, okay, I've got maybe 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of where the characters currently are planned out, versus I've got the whole sort of world and campaign planned out. And so if they go over here, I already know what I've got going on, or if they go over here, I've already know what I'm doing. That's different to me, like versus milestone leveling, because you're like, okay, I know I've got an overall plan and I've got it all sort of planned out.
They're definitely going to be going here. They're definitely going to be, yeah.
And then you can spread out the milestones, more appropriate, versus like if you are just kind of 1 or 2 steps ahead, which I kind of was in Strahd. I obviously I read the module like 2 or 3 times, and I knew an overall sort of framework of the story, but I didn't like plan except for like maybe like I said, a few steps ahead of where the characters were, and it sort of made it like where I was like, oh yeah, I need to level them up sometimes. That happened once or twice.
Really itching for a level up.
Yeah, that happened a couple of times where I was like, oh yeah, I need to level them up. So that's a difference to me in milestone leveling versus whereas XP, it's planned out already. It's just whenever they hit the XP level, they level up.
And a conversation of agency can be thrown into this too, because when you're leveling up by XP, it's in the player's handbook. You know when you're going to level up.
Right.
You're tracking your XP, so 3 more medium encounters or whatever, or 3 more of this creature that I know provides this much XP is all I need left to level up.
Yeah.
So they can either seek out those quest boards or those bounty boards inside of the inns, or ask about rumors around town to find these different plot hooks.
Yeah.
In terms of planning out the next 2-3 steps, that's why I love travel episodes. Travel sessions are where I figure out where they're going.
Right.
So if they're traveling, and this is something that you can do as just a DM, you don't have to have everything planned. As they're traveling along a road, throw in a roadside encounter, have it be engaging as best, if your players are having fun, it's going to be engaging, whatever it is.
Right.
A broken caravan that got beset upon by bandits, and they tell you where they went. The party can ignore that.
Right.
The party can go and engage that. It all depends on what they're wanting to do. If they're really wanting to get town to sell this loot that they just got from this previous fight, they might just say, sorry, here's a little bit of money. Good luck with you. Sorry, we can't do anything about the bandits. You can come with us, or ignore them completely.
Well, here's another thing. I don't know. I just thought of this while we're sitting here, but it's something that we might discuss later on or wherever. But have you ever been involved in a campaign where the DM took away XP for some reason?
I haven't.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Like if you really wanted to lean into like the alignment system,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they did something against their alignment,
Mhm.
you could say as a almost like a holy retribution punishment. It's
Yeah.
like, you lost 300 XP.
And do
there.
you punish
Yeah.
the whole group or do you punish the individual?
I think that's where we talk about earned XP
Yeah,
versus
which
shared XP.
we will
which is
get
what
to
we can
that. Yeah, definitely. I just before we get to that, I wanted to talk about our XP leveling and milestone leveling. Are they mutually exclusive?
I don't think they have to be.
I don't think they have to be either. I think they generally are.
Mhm.
I think most people either run an XP leveling or milestone leveling campaign, but we read in the DMG actually, it's not mutually exclusive. You can do both.
Yeah, you can also award XP when these milestones happen, and that's interesting wording here because I had always, maybe it was the way the old DMG worked. You leveled up at a milestone.
Right.
Maybe that's just the way we took it.
Right.
But this is award XP when they do milestone things. So
Yeah.
You could attribute like 800 XP to them sneaking through the guard tower or whatever to get into the bandit camp. You could either do that by adding in how much XP those bandits would have taken to kill and just give them that way.
Yeah.
And you can view that as a milestone, or you can view that as XP
Right.
with extra steps without killing.
We also talked about an option where if you're running like an XP campaign and then you have, like, say in yours, we're running Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, kind of.
Yeah.
It's an open world campaign. We're doing XP. What if you had a section where like we went into this, cave or something, and then we're maybe transported into the Shadowfell, and we then ran a little kind of mini version of the Strahd campaign, and then you could switch to milestone leveling for that little mini campaign, and then you're transported back into Exandria, and you're back to XP.
That's more viable the more I think about it, because that's something that I was planning on doing, because I want to go through the modules at least once.
Yeah.
I want to go through all the modules that they have. I want to experience the stories that other people have experienced and kind of see the differences in how people run them.
Yeah.
And I feel like an open world campaign is a great place to do that, because you have your characters that you have set, that you have experiences with, and then you throw them into this set adventure that you as the DM can almost take a brain break.
Yeah.
Because it has all the NPCs for you. It has the locations. It has maps.
Yeah.
And if you run Milestone XP in that module, you get the correct pacing intended by the module.
Right.
Well, another idea would be to bounce them in and out of that module as they reach different levels based on where that module would have put them anyway, milestone wise.
Yeah.
I'm running into that with the encounters in the Wildmount book, because in the Wildmount book, and I'm sure I think other setting books and even just campaign books, they have little miniature encounters that aren't even full-fledged quests or mini modules. It's just a prompt essentially for the DM to run with, and it has recommended levels. So like Hupperduke is where our party's headed. And not to go into too many spoilers, there's a set level for that to be. It's actually one of the starting adventures in the book.
Yeah.
I just had decided you guys start on the other side of the continent to travel there.
Right.
Probably for me to just get my footing and figure out how to DM before I get to something that I know what is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we talked about when and how this is discussed within the party. Most people, I think most DMs would do it in a session 0 where everybody's kind of getting on the same page, and I think that would maybe be the time that DMs maybe announce, okay, this is going to be an XP campaign or a milestone campaign. But or a discussion? Or a discussion? It could be a discussion. Although I think personally it's the DM's decision, because they're the ones that has to manage that workload. Yeah. And so, but is that necessary, or is that even required? I don't know. I mean, that's not something I've ever thought about, is maybe the party doesn't need to know right away. Maybe they just...
If you were doing Milestone for Strahd when I joined
That's
you,
true. That's true.
I had gone into my campaign wanting to do XP because I had never done it before.
Yeah.
My cousin, he had an open world campaign for the world that he made, and he still did Milestone.
Yeah. Yeah, we did discuss it in session 0 of Strahd, that I told them we were going to be doing milestone leveling, but is it a necessary thing for the DM to share that with the party, or?
Oh, they can let us know.
I don't. And I don't know if it is. I personally do, because I don't just do straight. I mean, I do XP, but and we'll talk about it later, but I also I like adding some other things in that allow me to get to know your character if you're playing in my campaign.
Yeah.
I want, I like to just put it out on the table what I'm doing when it comes to that stuff. That way there's no, that nobody feels like they've been cheated or done wrong or,
Yeah. I think that's the general consensus for DMs. I mean, I would share it as in a session 0.
Yeah, communicate with your players. I think that's one of the more important things that you can do as a DM.
Yeah.
I've included talked about like what do you have planned for your character? What kind of power fantasy do you have that you're wanting to play out with this thing? That way I can sort of craft encounters and situations where you can lean into that.
Right.
And that just goes into the entirety of DMing, I guess, is just
right. But you can plan out a little bit. I mean, it's harder if you have a lot of players, but you can kind of plan out if you know where they want to go, when they should hit certain points, level wise before they get to the arc, the end of their arc.
I also wonder how that works with character arcs is what I was just thinking. If you did a milestone per character or per player, because in a game you're going to shift into your own character arcs. Whether it is an open world campaign where it is a full-fledged like campaign, mini campaign, major quest where you have your own big bad evil guy.
Yeah.
Would it be an interesting thing to play where somebody is a different level entirely?
Yeah.
Based on that. Campaign 2 of Critical Role.
Yeah.
Travis played a level 5 character. I believe he was level 5 fighter. He was throwing extra attacks around.
Yeah.
But he played his character in a way that did not make him outshine or outperform everybody else because he was a good role player and a good team player.
Okay, so let's go back to something you mentioned, shared XP versus earned XP. So right now in your campaign, we are doing shared XP.
Splitting it evenly.
Splitting it evenly across all the players. But I think you've mentioned also maybe shying away from that a little bit and going into maybe a little earned XP in your campaign that you're going to plan?
Yeah, so, and I've been in campaigns where this has happened. You get the shared XP for monster encounters, things like that, for the main encounters. And that way, we talked about this too, if a player's not there, they're still going to get a share in this.
Yeah.
But then if a player
goes above and
beyond, or really, really thinks outside the box.
Yeah, it's really creative.
And not just uses their own ability, but knows their other their companions well enough to include them into it or use things that they know that they can do.
Yeah.
And it's something that's special. I don't mind. It's like you might get 100 extra XP.
Yeah.
And so maybe you level slightly earlier.
Yeah. But it's not going to be something where someone can kind of run away from the rest of the party. It's going to be like a little small drip here and there.
The extreme of earned XP is kill stealing.
Right.
It is going in after a kill and intentionally either waiting to get the last blow in so that you get all the XP.
Right.
If that's the way it goes. Because DMs can also just split it. If you put a hit on that character, you get a split. A split of that.
Yeah,
XP.
I think that
because healers, they're not they're not killing stuff. If you're playing,
well, I'm not going to do earned XP like that.
Yeah, that's to me goes into the abusive category.
That's the bad extreme.
And it's going to make the game bad.
It will. It will.
Because players get resentful and angry and frustrated.
Yeah. So I think the way that you're planning it, I think that could work well. Where it would almost incentivize players to be more creative, to
surprise me, surprise the DM.
Yeah,
you just did something I never thought.
Yeah,
it's like
that's cool. It's almost like you're, instead of giving inspiration, you're giving a tiny bit of extra XP.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
I think of a lot of it as build crafting, and I feel like there can be a little bit of that, especially during session 0 when you're discussing your characters at the start. There's a few character traits and class features that really work well with other class features and character traits.
Right.
And spells, especially. Like, for example, we had discussed a Shadow Monk and a World Tree Barbarian.
Yeah.
Where the Shadow Monk would create the darkness and the World Tree Barbarian would keep them in the darkness.
Push them in.
And that'd be a way to work together as a team using a characters that really don't fuse very well.
Right. You wouldn't think it right off the bat on paper, but yeah. I thought that was a really fun example of
some kind of druid like doing plant growth to keep them inside the darkness for even longer, or something like that. Where you can coordinate that and
that's something I think that doesn't happen a lot, at least that I've seen, is players really working together. Like, not just, okay, I'm going to, hit him and then you come in and hit him, or, I'm going to paralyze him or, stun him and then you come in and hit him. Not just that, but like really working to make like what you would think of in video games like combos, like player combos and things like that. And so I think it would be very encouraging and incentivizing if you were doing earned XP to really try and push players into that.
Like, for example, if you have a crit fishing paladin who really wants those crits for their smites, having a character who plays a hill giant, a Goliath, or something that is really good at battlefield control, knocking them prone to give them advantage on all their attacks, or in a way to put them in a darkness in an advantageous position to get them that advantage. That's a way to really work together to get the most out of combat.
Well, so for me, that's probably not what I'm going to give any earned XP for, because I think on the battlefield, you should, like, you
it's expected to
you
work
need
together
to get
as a team.
well, and it's not just about knowing their combat strength; it's more about their personalities too. It's like, and it's probably going to be more for, like, for example, I'm trying to even think what I was playing a battle cleric, a dwarf battle cleric, and something that it was an ability that I had working with an ability that I want to say she was just a sorceress, but we did something to get our group out of this trap. That was something that the DM, he was like, I never would have thought of that. Okay, roll for it. It worked. You guys get, each get an extra 50 XP. I mean, it wasn't a ton, but it was just, and we leveled up like quarter of a session before everybody else. So
it wasn't out of hand.
No.
Yeah. It's interesting that we're talking about this. There's lots of examples of 2 players working together, but getting more than 2 players to be a part of like a combo attack or combo working off of each other, like, that's hard to do.
It's tough. You can stun lock, you can have multiple people knocking people prone if needed, but really getting a really unique and special.
You almost have to plan that when you're making your characters. Like, okay, how can we do this to work where we're all kind of doing something together?
Well, and I'll be honest, I'm not opposed to players doing that.
Especially if they have a shared backstory. Like, if you work together where you have a character who has the soldier background, and they also have a soldier background, and you discover that at session 0, it's like, what if we were battle buddies? What if we fought together and we know each other well?
Or if you're in the same circles, you run in the same circles in, say, someplace like Waterdeep, so you kind of have that same.
And maybe one of those things where, okay, you pull off this really cool 3-player combo, and okay, the first time the DM's like, okay, that was cool. I'll give you each an extra 50 XP. But then, okay, you don't get it every time you do that. Like, the first time was, okay, that's cool.
You surprised me. That was good.
And I'll just wear it off.
This was supposed to be a lot harder in my head. And you guys just really crushed
it. Are they campaign specific, XP versus milestone? Like, or are they interchangeable?
I think it does depend on the campaign and the DM. I think more importantly the DM, because any DM can probably swing one way or the other on milestone or XP. Depends on how well they know the players, kind of what they know. Because if you're playing with a great example is if you're playing with a lot of video gamers, like people who play video games, they might be more into XP. They might be more receptive to seeing, I killed this thing, I get this much. Or I do this quest, I get this much. Because if you run it, like if you do a bounty poster, you get the XP for catching the bandit, but you also get XP for completing it under certain parameters. Maybe you get different XP for dead or alive, that kind of thing. Whereas people who are more into stories and narratives might engage more with milestone. So I think it really does depend a lot on the campaign itself and the players and the DM. So
I mean, if we're talking about preference, I'm an experienced guy. I like just doing the XP guy.
I think I am too, because it's something very tangible.
I think that some campaigns lend themselves better to one or the other, but I agree with you that it's really DM dependent. I think if you're really comfortable with XP, then you're going to make any campaign work with XP.
That's what I was going to say. It's the one I'm more comfortable with, because, like I said, I'd never played a milestone
Yeah.
went into
when
it.
you're
I
learning
could have-
XP, you understand monster XP. So
Right.
you understand how to readjust your encounters for your characters leveling up sooner than you expect them to.
Yeah.
Because that's something you're aware of every single combat encounter.
Yeah.
At least combat encounter.
When I ran Strahd, I was more comfortable with Milestone, and I think it worked really well with Milestone leveling.
I think so too.
Because there are very specific big points in the campaign all along, and they happen to be enough, almost like they planned it, where you are at the level you need to be when you fight Strahd at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I think I would have probably liked Milestone better, like especially the first time I ever DM'd, which is back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I would have probably liked Milestone better when I was getting started.
I think it's less worry.
Yeah.
It is.
Because especially if you have
Less to do.
an actual campaign story in mind or module, you know generally what's going to happen. Not
Yeah.
necessarily railroading, but this major plot point is going to happen at some point because
Right.
it's the story that I'm wanting to tell.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative storytelling, but the DM kind of sets the frame,
That's right.
especially in a planned campaign. Mine's pretty loosey-goosey right now, so it's
Yeah.
kind of things happen and I allow things to happen that I feel like are going to be really engaging stories moving forward, and it's all up to the players to engage with them and move forward with those.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Well, I think we have discussed it a lot and kind of exhausted our knowledge and understanding of it. Please like and subscribe the video and tell us down below in the comments what is your experience with XP and Milestone and which do you prefer? We definitely would love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.